Hello, hello. Today we're talking about how to be in control of your life, and that includes money. I know money is like a taboo subject for a lot of people, but everyone is still trying to make more and more of it. As you see, pretty much everyone wants a job or wants to stay with their parents because then they don't have to have a job, but they're still getting the benefits of money. So I know that as women, we think that talking about finances is a really hard and boring subject, but it will not be today. And this is everything I've learned from reading all of Dave Ramsey's books, Robert Kiosaki, listening to Grant Cardone. You should listen to these people, read their books, they're amazing. But if you want the condensed version and how to apply it in your life and the actual, on the ground skills of exactly how to balance your checkbook, file your bills, keep things organized, then this is the video for you. And I'm going to talk a little faster because it's a bit of information that I want to, keep it a little bit shorter. So let's jump right in. So number one, write all of your desires, your dream life, everything. Take some time to write that down because without a vision, the people perish. There is a verse in the Bible that says that, and in all the religious books, I'm sure. So write down what you do want, and that is what's going to propel you to want to do the rest of this. So pause the video and do that. And then number two, write down all the money that you've ever made since you were little. Take some time to do that. Pause the video and do that. You'll see that you are amazing at manifesting money. You'll see you've probably made so much money. But how much money do you have right now? That's the question. Probably not very much, right? And how much do you have invested? Are you always thinking that, I'll start investing once I make more money? Well, no, because you've always been thinking that and you've always been making more and more money, and yet you haven't yet. And that means you never will. So start investing right now. And that can come a little bit later once your finances are in order. But I do want you to start thinking about that, either in stocks or crypto or real estate. Start saving up for that. Because that is what will buy you freedom. So there's these two energies in life, the yin and yang of everything, which is the masculine and feminine energy. And this is in money also. It's in everything. So the feminine with money is the flow, the creation. It's what calls in money. And it's what we just saw that you're really good at because you've just seen how much money you've made. And the masculine is the container, the riverbed, for the river that holds it. Because if there was no riverbed for the river, well, it would just be gone, right? So that's what the masculine is. It's the container. It's what contains your money. It's like your savings account, your investments. And now there's a wounded side to both that we want to keep healthy. So there's the wounded feminine is where money just burns a hole in your pocket. It comes and it goes. It just flows right out. It's like the river without the riverbed. You can't hold on to it. And the wounded masculine is too tight with money and chokes it. It's like the scarcity mindset. And it makes you not have any fun at all. You've seen people like that. And we don't want that. We want harmony, So to make ourselves shed the unhealthy parts and go back to having a healthy relationship with money, we need to do our inner work and deprogram the virus, pretty much. What's controlling our mind that isn't even reality. So write out what was your mom's views about money. And then another page, write down what was your dad's views about money, positive and negative. And then what was your family and friends and the culture around you? What was their view on money? So that you can see what has influenced you. So pause the video, take a minute or so to write that out, and then come back. And today we are working on the masculine energetics of money. And if you want to go deeper into the inner work part, because it is super deep and it's the subconscious things that are our money blocks or blocks for happiness and everything really, then be sure to check out my course, Divinely Favored. It has a money module in it that is so good and goes super deep. and will help you overcome your obstacles with that for sure. So check that out if you want to go deeper. And let's get into it. So once you have the masculine energetics of money down, you can then stay in your feminine and fun, and and stay in your ease and your feminine energy, because you have to have your finances in order to be able to relax. Like, we all feel that. So if I'm looking down, I have my notes because I don't want to miss anything. So if you have a wounded feminine, like you spend too much money, before you spend money, ask yourself, do I really need this? Does it really light my soul up? And if it doesn't, don't buy it, because it won't feel good to you. And remember, don't be too materialistic. I know it's hard, and I know we live on Earth, so we are materialistic. But we kind of have to remember we're not from here, and we're not going to stay here. We're going to leave, and we're not taking anything with us. Or if you notice, like with this spending part, if you notice that right after you get paid, you go to Ross or somewhere and spend it all, then maybe skip that and go straight home. And if you're trying to ease yourself into this, then maybe go to Ross after a few hours, or maybe even the next day, so you're not in that rush of getting that high from spending money. And it's good to be in control of ourselves instead of letting the world and its pleasures control us. It is important, and it'll make you happier too. And I know it's hard, but you've got this. I know it. And there's this, I read it somewhere, it's from one of the money people. He was saying that freeze your credit card in like a jug of water, so that when you have this impulse to buy something, you have to wait 3 days for it to melt so you can get to your credit card. And then if you really do still want that, or if you can live without it. So that will help if you're trying to work on your self-control. So my next point is save your money. Save your money. In caps lock, save your money. Really. Get that in your blood. Reprogram every cell in your body to save your money. Okay? Remember that. Make that your core belief. If someone else can pay, let them. Don't be trying to prove that I am capable enough to pay for this. No, nobody cares, and all you're doing is wasting your money. So don't buy expensive things for people or yourself if you can't afford that yet. Don't be always trying to outdo in gifts. Leave it be for the time being, okay? You can do that later when your finances are in order. And ask someone to pay. Let someone else pay for a change. They can do it. And there's not enough happy, truly grateful receivers. And people love giving to people who really receive. So be one of those people. People love it, truly. And then if there's a man around, make sure that he pays. Because women should not be paying if there's men around, because that's what they bring to the table. We bring so much to the table that they can at least pay with the money, okay? So, men, they're natural providers. They fall in love and they stay in love with providing. And even if it's not romantically involved, your father, your brothers, your uncles can be paying, okay? Really believe that. Because a lot of women have a problem with that, but 1 + 1 = 2, not 0, okay? And if you have your job and your money and he's giving you his money, that makes you stronger, not weaker, okay? So no more 50-50. Promise me that. You're worth more than that. And another thing I really want to talk about that's super important with money that most people do not know about is the difference between assets and liabilities. So, what's the difference? It's so important because most people think that they're opposite. So it's important because most people think that's how they lose and spend all their money, is because they switch around what they think liabilities and assets are. So a boat, a house, a vehicle, those are all liabilities. An asset is something that makes you money. If something isn't making you money, it's a liability. Like a car, it's a liability, it's a doodad. A house, that's a doodad. It's a liability. Anytime money goes out and it's not coming back, that's a doodad. Because like with your house, you probably didn't pay all $600,000 or $1 million in cash, right? You're probably paying mortgage on it, so that's a liability. Anytime money goes out and doesn't come back, that's a liability. So, like my friends, they went out and bought these brand new or almost brand new cars. So they just dropped 20 grand or however much it costs to buy a car. And they're not rich. They're still super young. They are just finally getting, like, they have a job at a little store and stuff. And they're still helping their family with their house. And I don't know. I am not judging them, don't get me wrong. But I think what they were thinking is that a car, oh, I have 50 grand, I'll go put in an asset. And no, a car is not an asset. Because what is it doing? As soon as you drive it off the parking lot, its value goes through the floor, you know. And so that's why they're broke now with empty savings accounts. Like, their saving accounts are now empty, and they've said that. And it's like, why? You know? Like, I think they mistook liabilities for assets in that case. Accountants, they will even say to you that they'll put your house, your fifth wheel, like all kinds of things, as an asset, but they're not. Because a house only sucks money with remodeling and maintenance and all that stuff. But if you rent a room or the whole thing, then it's then it's an asset. Then it's an investment. Like a car. If you use it to give rides to people, then that's an asset. A computer, if you're making money on crypto with it, it's an asset. You know, people burden themselves with assets that are really liabilities. And that's why they have no money. So, quit doodads and only start investing your money in assets. Also, another thing to do is keep envelopes. This is another tip for keeping in control of your money. So, label them like 20% savings or whatever percentage you're allocating in your budget. So make your budget, so like do whatever works for you, but say like 50% for expenses and spending, 20% for savings, another 20% for long-term savings, and like 10% for tithing. So label each little envelope with that. And when you get your paycheck, take the money out, cash it, and distribute it accordingly into those envelopes. And that will help you because when the envelope is empty, then you can't spend anymore. You know, whereas with a credit card, we just think it's so unattached and out there, and it's easier for us to like spend too much money that way, if you know what I mean. So that really helps if you're really, slippery with money, and it helps you really. It works for a ton of people. So I would really recommend doing that. And then use the 20% savings to pay off your debts if you have any. And start with the smallest debt first, because that will give you momentum. And then back to the envelopes. It's really important. So do it that way if you think that will help you. And I grew out of that, but I know when I first started, that was super important and helpful. But because now all my money that I make is going into savings and investments. I don't use expenses because I stay at home, and I know that's not something a lot of you guys can do, but I'm blessed to be able to do that. And I work super hard. I help with the family business, helping with the cooking, the cleaning, every single thing you can imagine. And that's how I'm saving my money, is by doing what most kids won't do, or young adults or older adults. So live like no other so that you can live like no other some other time. Hopefully soon. So seek long-term gratification versus the short term. And then back to the savings. Like, this is why it's so important. Like, you must have savings because, like, you can lose your job at any time. A lot of people think that when you have a job that, oh, then you're secure. Like, I worked at a real estate office for a while, and we would always look at if someone had a job for them to get a loan. And thinking that that makes them super stable and that they'll have consistent money coming in. And I never understood that because they could get sacked at any time, and their $3,000 mortgage, like if they get sacked, they probably don't have a lot of savings because most Americans, most people do not. And then what happens? And I guess I never understood that because I came from a business family, and when you're in control of your money and how much you can make, to me that's way safer, but the loan companies don't think so. But for real life, you should have your money coming in other avenues because you are replaceable at a job. Anyone can replace you at any time. And that's a truth that does hurt. But if you're aware of it, then you can be ready for it. Like, do you have 3 months of expenses lined up? Do you have that saved? Because what if you do lose your job? Then you have time to find another one. Because all people think they'll never lose their job until they do. See, until they do. So have your treasure chest fund. Like, it's so important to be secure. And make it easy. I know there's lots of automatic things that banks can do for you, like containers for paying your bills. Like, people can have their bills paid automatically if that's something that's really difficult for you to do. Or you can have them do automatic at your bank for your paycheck. So when you deposit your paycheck, they can automatically allocate certain things for savings or whatever you decide. I don't do that personally, but I have heard of that, so you can check into that. Okay. Now let's get into the basics and the hands-on. So the first thing is, do you have a bank account? If you don't, definitely go open one. That is kind of important. And it's super easy. You just set an appointment with a banker and they set it up. And then the next thing is do you have a credit card? So if you're really young, right before you turn 18, go set an appointment and a date so that you can open it as soon as you turn 18, because that's when you can start working on your credit score. And having a credit card is how you build your credit score. And that's how I built mine to almost 800 in less than a year. So that's super important. But with a credit card, a lot of people think that it's free money or somebody else's money or something, but it's only borrowed money and you have to pay that back. So don't spend more than you can easily pay back at the end of the month, because you will ruin your credit score instead if you're always paying late or only paying the bare minimum. And if having a credit card is super slippery for you, then cut it up. Don't use it. It'll make your life a lot easier. And then later on, if you have more self-control and build that up, because that takes a while, then you can have one, and then it's a great tool. But yeah, that can ruin a lot of people. So now let's talk about how you actually keep track of your money. So having a journal or a diary is super duper important. It's a must. And a lot of people think that that's going to take them a half an hour every evening. And of course it can if you want it to, but it can also just take 30 seconds. And you can write down the main entries of your day if you want to, but definitely write down your expenses and your income for the day. And that literally will only take you 30 seconds. It won't take long. So make sure you do that. So write down all the expenses, especially with your credit card if you use your credit card to spend, and circle all the income. That's what I do. And if you want to do that, that works too. But definitely just at least keep track of your expenses and your income, because that way you can keep track of what's coming in and what's going out, because most people have no idea. And then when your credit card bill comes in, then you can go back to your journal or your diary and check it off and make sure that the amount is correct. Or if it doesn't match, then you can call the company or figure out what went wrong there. And most people don't do that, and you can lose money by doing that. And like, we've saved a lot of money by being observant with that, because we wrote it down, and then we could see that that was not what we spent. Someone else had the credit card, and then you could cancel the credit card, or else just save $10 here and there. Because if you want to save money in your life, that is one way to do that. So there are 3 ways you can spend money, and you should know all 3. You can spend money with cash, you can spend money by writing a check, and you can spend money by a credit card. Those are pretty much the only ways, unless you're doing crypto or something, but that's still pretty much like a credit card. So the number 1 way we'll talk about is the cash. So anytime you spend any money, write it in your journal and diary to track it. And as you get better, you might not have to always keep track of cash, because cash is kind of invisible, like it could have like never happened. Whereas with credit card or something, there's always documentation. So later on, you don't have to keep track of cash you spend, but in the beginning, definitely keep track of it, because then you know where your money is going. And so number 2 is the check. That's another way you can spend money. So a check is just an order for a bank to send a certain amount to somebody else. It's an order for a bank to spend your money. And you can only write a check if you have a bank account that allows checks. Okay, sorry about that. I had to move. It was getting really loud in the house. But the next thing is do you know how to write a check? Because a lot of people don't. Like, they do not teach you this in school. So I have this little thing here that I pretty much made a hand-drawn version of a check, and this is what it looks like. So like, they'll have your name on the top right, the name of the bank on the top left. You'll put down the date, like the day you're doing it. So like, if it's February 28th of 2023, then you'll put 2/23/23, or if it's the 20th, it'd be 2/28, sorry. And then pay to the order of, that means who you're writing the check to. So on the bill, it will usually tell you, or put the business name. So like, my credit card company is such and such, so then you'll just put the name of that. And okay, so I filled that in for you guys. So you put in the date, you put down who you're paying it to, so I just made up ABC LLC. And then you put down the amount of what you're paying. So like, if it's $128.69, you do that. And on the next line, you write down $128.69. You have to write it out like that. Don't ask me why, but you do. That way, someone can't just like change this number, because then it's really hard to change the lettering, and that way it's harder to forge checks. And then for under the 4, you put down your invoice number or account number. So that will be on the bill. So I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, but it'll be whatever it says on the bill. And then you do your signature. And that is how you write a check. Sorry, that's a little bit scribbly, but I was doing that kind of fast. So like, when you write a check, consider the amount already taken out of your account, because it will be eventually. And since you will forget later, go right then and write in your checkbook the amount that was taken out and balance it, meaning fix the bank. Fix the account balance in your checkbook, which will show your bank account balance, to show what the amount is actually in your account. So balancing your checkbook just means plussing and minusing whatever you're doing, so that you know exactly how much money is in your account. So I know balancing your checkbook is another thing that they do not teach you in school, so I'm going to show you that real quick. So here's a checkbook. So in the checkbook, you must write down any pluses and minuses, like any deposits you make in your account and anything that you take out from your account. And then you balance it, which means doing the adding and subtracting, to make sure you know how much money is in your account. And that when you get your bank statement, that you and the bank agree with the amount in your account. Because if you do not keep track of it, the bank can say or do whatever, or someone can mess with it, and you will have no written proof to fight them back with. And if you know about law or court or even just proving your point, the person with something written stands way above than, well, I thought so, or I said this. Like, that never flies. So this is super, super, super important. I want you guys to get that. I don't know how to tell you guys that this is super important, and most people do not do this. But you must, okay? So, because if you don't keep track of it, the bank can say or do whatever, and you'll have no written proof to fight them back with. And even if it's off to even 1 penny, what you and the bank say is in there, figure out if you made the mistake. And if not, then go into the bank and go figure it out. Get the manager, sort it out. Like, it's 1 penny now, but it'll be a bigger amount, or even $1 million later. And like God says, if you have to be faithful in the little things for you to be given more. So people who are proven faithful in the little things are the ones that get more. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so this is an older checkbook of mine, and I have the available balance, or not the available balance, but the balance of what is actually in the account covered, because some of you guys can be super judgmental. And I just want to show you guys how you do this. So you put the date where it says date, and then in the description you put down what you put in or what you took out, and the interest, which shows on your bank statement. So under the deposit thing, which is on the very right, you put down your deposits. If you have any withdrawals, like checks you've made, you put that on the left. And then on the very, very right, you have your running balance of how much is in your account. So here's a better example. So this is from my older stuff going on. And so you can see when I ordered checks, I put down the withdrawal under the withdrawal sign. When I had deposits, I put on the right. And then whatever you have in your account, you add and subtract those things, and that goes where under my fingers is. And that shows what you actually have in your account. So at the end of the month, your bank statement will come in, or whenever during the month, your bank statement from your bank will come in, and it will show all the deposits and withdrawals made from your account. So at that point in time, you open the envelope, you take it out, you bring out your checkbook, and then you go and, looking at your checkbook, you check to see if what the bank said is what actually happened. And if it is, then you check it off. So if they gave you 47 cents of interest, put down plus 47 cents and add it to your balance in your checkbook, and then check off to the right of the 47 cents in your statement. And that shows that you've accounted for it. And if there are checks and things from the past, if you do a lot of movement in your account, and say there's some checks that haven't been cashed yet, then what your bank statement says and what your checkbook says will be different. And how you reconcile that is you start with what your bank statement says, what the available balance is on that, and then you add and subtract what is in your checkbook. So say the bank statement says you have $100, but you have this $20 check from the past that hasn't cleared yet. Then you subtract the $20, and that should give you what is in your checkbook balance, which will be the $80, because you will already have it written in your checkbook, right, that you wrote a check for $20 and you took it out of your account. So I'll say that again. So say your credit card bill is $20. So you write a check to the credit card company for $20. You put it down as a withdrawal in your checkbook. And now your available balance is $80, because you had $100, now it's $80. So your checkbook shows you have $80. Your bank statement, however, comes in and it shows you still have $100. That's because the check has not been cashed yet. It takes a while for some companies to cash the checks, or it may have happened after the time period that the statement is. So your statement from the bank is saying you have $100 still, but you don't, because now your checkbook says you have $80. So what you do to reconcile is you take the number that the bank statement says, which is $100. You subtract what your checkbook says, or even if you have any additions, say you added in $5,000. Now you subtract the $20, which gives you $80, and if you had a deposit of $5,000, then you add the deposit of $5,000, and that should give you what is in your credit or in your checkbook. It should give you the same number that is in your checkbook, and that's how you reconcile. So I hope that was clear. I can say that again if you need me to. But once those numbers match what's on your calculator and what's in your checkbook, then put double check marks around the number, that like one on each side of your available balance. In the bank statement, circle it so that you know that you've done it, and then on the top right, balanced with checkbook and the date, and then put that your bank statement in the folder where your bank statements go. So I have a file cabinet and just a regular file cabinet, and then you get manilas that you like, the manila folders with the little tabs on the top, and you put it under the respective numbers. So you have your cabinet alphabetized from A to Z. So under the A tab you have things with A, under the B tab you have things with B, etc. So for bank statements it goes under B. So you have your manila file that says bank statements for whatever account it is. If you have more than one bank account, then you'll have it in different manila envelopes under B. It's like if you have an LLC account, that'll be under your under B for bank account. And if you have your personal account, then that'll still be under B, but it'll be a different manila. So make sure you keep things separate, and do keep them, and just put them on the top. So how you file things is the oldest thing goes in the back, the newest thing goes in the front, on the top. So this new bank statement that you just finished doing, just stick it in the front of that manila folder and put it back in. I hope that makes sense. Before we go on to filing, I just wanted to reiterate what I said of how to balance a checkbook, because I know that was super confusing. I still sometimes get confused when I'm doing like the business ones for our account of our family business, and it's like so many checks and so many things from so long ago that haven't cleared yet, or so many deposits. Like, it gets kind of confusing when it becomes pages and pages that you need to like make sure everything is staying online with. So I understand if this is confusing. But just to say it again, so say the bank statement comes in with $100. It says your bank account has $100. But in your checkbook, you have written that that you wrote a check for $20 to the credit card company. So now your bank statement shows $80. And then you put in a $5 deposit. So now it shows $85, right? So that shows what is actually in your bank account. But the bank, say the statement finished at the end of the month, and this was, say, the first week of the next month, so those things aren't going to show yet. And so the numbers will be different for what the bank says you have and what the checkbook says you have. So the bank says you still have $100, and your account, your checkbook says that you have $85. And that is actually what you actually have, but the bank just hasn't shown that yet, because it'll show it on the next statement. Because they do it by month. They go from the end of the month to the end of the next month, is how most banks do it. So if you do anything after the first of the next month, it's not going to show. And so that's the times where your checkbook and your bank statement will show different numbers. So the bank statement is showing $100. Your checkbook is showing $85. How do you reconcile the two? because the two are going to say two different numbers. So what you do, take what the bank statement says, $100, and then add and subtract whatever happened in your checkbook. So subtract the $20 that has already left your account because of the check, add the $5 that you put in, and now the calculator should say $85, and your checkbook will say $85. And if those two match, now you're good to go. You just reconciled it, and now you can put down on your bank statement that you have balanced it, and then you can file that away. And that's how you do it. You just take what the bank statement says, you add and subtract whatever happened in your checkbook, and that's how you do it. Okay, so now for number 3. The number 3 way you can spend money is by credit card. So if you pay by card, write it in your diary of like, okay, I spent $31.67 on January 7th or whatever the case is. So you have that written down, and then keep the receipts. So say you went to Fry's or a grocery store, keep the receipt. Always keep the receipts and file it. So have a little envelope labeled receipts that you put in a manila envelope under R, which says receipts on it. And just keep the month of receipts until your credit card statement comes in and your bank statement, if you wrote checks, comes in and restates that, yes, this happened and this was the amount. And then you can get rid of the receipts. And then you can start again for the next month. Unless you have a business. And in that case, keep all the receipts. Okay? And file according to month. So have manila envelopes, 12 of them, labeled January through December, and put the receipts for each month in there. And do it nicely, so make them all stacked nicely and then staple them in a corner. Because most people just throw them in, and when the IRS or whoever comes to audit does it, it looks really disorganized, and it doesn't give you a good impression in their mind. So make sure you do that. And then keep the receipts for 7 years, because you have to do that with a business. And what's nice is when you keep the receipts, then you can use some of them as business expenses. So like some of them you can have as office expenses. So like if you bought paper or a printer or even a computer. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. Some people just came in the garage and was going to make a lot of noise. But here we are again. So here's what I use for receipts. I just have it in a little envelope like this for the ones that are not the business ones. And you just stick all your receipts in there for the month, and then you get rid of them at the end of the month if you don't have a business. And you just keep that in a manila folder labeled receipts under R. So what's nice is that you can use some of them as business expenses, like office expenses, to bring your income down, and that lowers your taxes. So that's super duper nice. And then when you pay your credit card bill or any bill, this is a different topic, but I want to really say this. First, go back through your diary and check the expense off, like put a check mark next to it, to make sure that they match, if they do match. And then write the check to pay the credit card bill. And then on the bill, when you're done, write the date, the check number, and the amount paid on it. Always do that. And then file the bill under wherever it goes that you have assigned. So like I have it under C as credit card bill. So then just put the rest of the bill there with what you wrote on it and put on the top, because the most recent goes on top. So just make sure you have a file cabinet that has A through Z tabs in it that you put the manilas behind that are labeled with the label that you have assigned, like credit card bill or bank statement or whatever. And that is how you do it. I hope that helped you guys, and I'm sorry this was a little bit jumbled. There's a lot happening that I didn't think was going to happen today. But I hope that was helpful for you guys and gave you a good understanding of how to have things organized for yourself. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.